Another sun-kissed day here on the Isle of Man. This time we are in Port St Mary. Who's going to be next on our Manx Radio's Mountain Memory series with Kawasaki K options? Come and see who it is. One man who has raced around the mountain circuit. He's won a few times around there as well. And of course on the Irish Nationals is Ryan Farqhuar. Ryan, hello, how are you? How are things over there in Northern Ireland?
We're pretty good, Chris. Everybody's in the same boat, just with this virus that's going about. But hopefully things are on the turn now, and we'll try and get back to a normal life pretty soon.
But unlike other people who haven't been doing much or anything, you've been flat out. Been trying to get hold of you for weeks.
Well, whenever you're a one-man band, there's that many jobs. Because the weather was good, I was trying to do around the house. Like painting fences, power hosing. I've also jobs in the workshop. I've started doing a little bit of vapor blasting. So there's a few people that has been bringing bits and pieces to me to have blasted, like old crankcases and things, where they must be stuck in their workshop, refurbishing or restoring old bikes. So, it's good.
Business continues on and still building bikes for people and doing bits, etc. too, yeah? Even though we have no racing, yeah?
Well, I've a couple of engines set out there that, that were meant to be sorted, for the start of the season, but whenever this kicked in, everything was kind of put on hold. With no need for them as yet, but hopefully things will start to free up and, we'll maybe be able to do track days and things in the not too distant future.
Isn't it bonkers the fact that we've had an absolute cracking weather-wise start to the season? I mean, the Cookstown, the Chandrigay, the Northwest would have been perfect. Even Scarborough, where you've won a few times as well. Isn't it daft that we've got this lovely weather and we can't do out?
That's always the way, but with just the way things are at the minute, the fact that the weather has been good and people are able to do, jobs outside, it has made it a bit easier. With the current situation, if the weather had been, if it had been in the middle of winter or whatever, it would have been much worse. As you can't go out and do jobs outside and try and keep yourself occupied. So from that point of view, yes, it's disappointing that the racing hasn't went ahead in the in the weather we've had, but it has made this whole lockdown a little bit more easy. The fact that we can do little jobs out and about.
So a 5-time Duke Road Race champion, over 200 wins on the national scene around many circuits. You mentioned places like Ballybunion, but everywhere really. I mean, Skerries, Killalane, Cookstown, that's your local circuit. The Bush Road races. All those circuits, Mid-Antrim. I mean, I remember that race you had with Darren Lindsay a few years ago. That was with the late Darren Lindsay, and that race you and Darren going over the old start and finish straight with the bike absolutely sideways and stuff. I'm sure some pretty good memories there on the Irish scene for you.
Yeah. For many years, I've just been racing the length and breadth of Ireland, Scarborough, or in the Isle of Man, like 3 times a year. I've done the TT, the Southern 100, and then back for the Manx Grand Prix, TT Classic. But that particular race at Mid-Antrim, because the whole focus was on Darren getting it crossed up, going across the line. If you actually watch the footage again, my rear set broke going over the line as well, but nobody actually picked up on it because of the scenes going on behind me. Richard Britton was stuck in the thick of that race as well. But it's just, it's one of those races that it's very lucky didn't end in disaster, both for myself and Darren. If it had went another lap as out of it, but thankfully it just broke at the right time and Darren stayed on it.
Let's look at the Manx Grand Prix. Taking a little venture over here in 1999. You've been here, obviously. You've been to the Isle of Man before that. But let's look back on that Manx Grand Prix. I mean, you think about how long ago that was. 21 years ago.
It's unreal when you look at it like that there. It just seems like yesterday. That was my first year with Winston McAdoo Racing. And, Bob Jackson, as everyone knows, got seriously hurt at Mid-Antrim in 98. And because I had a really good Ulster Grand Prix in 97 and a good Northwest in 98, that brought me to the attention of Winston, So they decided that they were going to run again in 99, and they asked me if I would ride the bikes. I had never rode a 4-stroke race bike before in my life. It was any experience I had at that stage was on two strokes. So it was a massive learning curve, for me, and getting to the Manx and trying to learn the circuit. I was still feeling my way with the with the four strokes, but luckily I was able to win the Newcomers race, and sort of it gave me the confidence and the motivation to keep pushing on to learn the four stroke trade.
I'm just looking at the Newcomers results on that. You've got Ryan Farqhuar with the win, obviously, about 40 odd seconds, and Kenneth Munro second. Mark Parrott, no idea who he is. Then you've got Steve Rathbone, Phil Gilder, what a good rider as well. Dewan Bull, Davy Clark. There's loads of names on here as well, but my old mate Mark Parrott finishing second. But getting a Manx Grand Prix win in the Newcomers and then moving on to the senior Manx Grand Prix the next year, top step.
Yeah, it was something that I was proud of. And, I was leading the junior in 2000 as well, and we had a massive oil leak. And I was very lucky to stay on. If that hadn't happened, I was pretty confident that I could have had a double, but it wasn't meant to be. But everything came good then. It was actually running the Saturday because the weather was, from memory, the weather was that bad on the Friday. They had to postpone it to the Saturday, so the sun shone on the Saturday, and I was able to win the senior Manx Grand Prix. From memory, I think I was the second rider in Irish history to actually win the senior Manx.
Who was the first one? Can you remember?
I remember at the time, but I'm not. I can't remember.
That's all right. I can't remember either. It's an age thing. We were talking about wearing glasses before. Maybe it's an age thing. And then you went to move to the TT in 2001, and same situation we're in now. We had the foot and mouth, and then you went to the TT, and straight away you're on the pipe, as you boys say over there, weren't you?
Yeah, well, it was disappointing 2001 for everyone, really. I come across that weekend and raced at Derby along with Seamus Green and myself. Came across
at the Derby Road circuit, yeah.
No, the Derby, the short circuit.
Oh, the airfield, yeah.
Yeah. So we come across, and done that there. What a good weekend's fun. And then as still with Winston McAdoo then for the 2002 TT, and I think fourth was my best result in 2002. Possibly on the 400, is that right?
Fifth in the 600 250, seventh in the senior production 600 21st, 14th in the production, 8th in the 400 race, and 13th in the Formula One. And then moving on to 2004, a dream. Yeah,
it was 2003. I set a lap record in the Super Sport 600, and then 2004 it started a complete disaster for me. I broke my scaffold training on a quad bike, and I missed the Cookstown and Tandergee, over the head of it, and went to the Northwest 200 on a brand new ZX10. That was the first year that the ZX10 came out. So not only was I going to the Northwest with no bike fitness and not being fit, but I'd also a brand new bike that hadn't turned the wheel, and trying to get that sorted. And we had two brand new 600s as well. So it was a very difficult time for me, because that same year I quit work and went full-time racing, and up to that point I hadn't made any money, and it just put it just been married as well, and financially I was under a lot of pressure, and physically that whole season, because I rode with a broken scaffold the whole year. It was difficult, but I went and had a chat with the Ferries on the morning of the production 600 race, and everything came good.
Certainly did. That's became a kind of tradition for you, didn't it, in the family, just to pop down to the Ferries and have a little word before every race?
Well, when it worked once, if something works, don't break it, So that was a very special time for me. It was one of the highlights of my career, standing on the podium along with Bruce Amsteen and John McGuinness, at two of the all-time great TT riders, to win your first race and have them standing beside you, it makes it even more special.
Your fastest lap is just shy of 130, 129 point. What was it again? 129 point. You'll know what it is, top of your head.
I don't know exactly. I think it's
Ah,
about 129.9.
yeah, I had it all written down here, but then you see, with all the miracles of modern technology, you can do it these days. Where are we here now? 129.883, and that was set in 2010.
Was the last lap of the the super stock race where I was battling out with Ian Hutchison. You know, probably one of the best races I've ever had.
Mm.
You know, we had a really slow filler in the pits. I lost quite a lot of time in the pits. Then on the last lap, I come in behind, you know, quite a few back markers, and I lost a lot of time, you know. But I'd be fairly confident that had I had a clear lap, you know, the pace that I was setting would have been, I reckon, would have been over 131. But it wasn't meant to be. You know, it's just one of those things. Ian, he won the race fair and square, maybe by 1.2 seconds. At the time, Ford's got it, but you know, you just have to take it in the chin.
That was the year he won the 5, wasn't it? So you could have stopped that.
Yeah. But doing it on a bike that I bought and built myself, you know, is something I was proud of. Like I say, it's probably one of my best TT rides.
A couple more questions. Obviously, a long association with Kawasaki, with Winston McAdoo, and of course Kenny Harker as well. What a big character around the paddock too. He helped you a lot along the way, didn't he?
Oh, Kenny was a massive, he played a massive part in my career. He started helping me in 1996. The company that he worked for, Ewing Brothers, they agreed to sponsor me. You know, that was the start of my relationship there, riding a 250 Yamaha. It just happened by chance. One Saturday morning, I had to get a photograph taken, you know, for the local paper, and I was asked to bring the bike to Kenny's house because he was just home from Spain, and the lorry was available to get a photograph took at it. And I got on really well with him, with a bit of crack, and he started coming to the races, and he enjoyed the crack. And one thing, he started buying me a few old tires and a set of lathers, and before too long then he was buying me bikes. You know, he just loved it. But he's just one of them characters. He's just an ordinary hard-working fella, and loved being involved, you know. So what we had with I think about 12 or 13 seasons of good fun.
You're the man behind the Kawasaki ER6, becoming from, well, I used to have one on the road, and a great little bike on the road, converting it from that to a racing bike. I mean, that has taken you so many hours in the shed. Well, it's not the shed, in your workshop, which is a pretty big workshop. I've seen pictures of it and that. But explain how that all come about. What made you think to yourself, do you know what? I can make this thing win.
I think it was the winter of 2008. The MCI had made a statement that they were thinking of introducing a 650 twin class. So I went along to the meeting, and at that stage, I had proposed that I liked the idea of it, and I had proposed that they kept the bike standard to keep the cost down. But there was a few riders there that had tuned SV 650s and the different forks in it and that there. So they agreed at that meeting to leave it easier placed, that the only rule that would be in place would be the standard bore stroke had to remain. Pretty much anything else went. So I said, that's fine. You know, I'm going to build myself an ER6. There's 3 or 4 guys at that meeting laughed at me. You know, I didn't know how competitive the bike was going to be, but as soon as I left the meeting, I spoke to a guy called Mike Johnson, who was the manager at Kawasaki UK at the time. And he was buying up for the idea, so he sold me a bike at the right money and gave me a few bits and pieces, you know, that I needed to convert it into a race bike, which at the time was a massive undertaking, because any company that I rang, you know, looking even simple things like rear sets or body work, nobody had ever heard of one. Nobody had, you know, ever thought that, you know, these bikes would be turned into race bikes. So I had to start pretty much adapting a lot of ZX10 parts that I had in the workshop, and went and we won the first race at Cookstown. And it just come on leaps and bounds from there, really. And it's another thing that I'm really proud of, that the lightweight as we now know it, are pretty much built on bikes that are designed for commuting on or going to get a pick on. The late great Joey Dunlop, his fastest ever lap around the TT circuit was on a factory SP1 with 124 odd mile an hour, where the lap record now for these commuting bikes are just about a 1 mile an hour, 1.5 mile an hour off that. So it just puts it into perspective how much development and that has went into these bikes. Yes, the course is faster, but it's not 3 mile an hour faster than it was back in the day. So whenever you look at from that point of view, what the speed that Philip McCallum and them boys were doing on factory 750 Hondas to what these commuting bikes, it is pretty special.
You mentioned the 2010 Superstock race against Ian Hutchinson. Final question will be this one, really. A memory that you could take as the whole of the world seems to go past the house. The final question I'm going to ask you about, from the Isle of Man, this place, what sort of memories will you take away from this place? When you decide, I don't want to go to the TT this year, I don't want to come to the Manx Grand Prix, I don't want to come to the Southern 100, what sort of memories will you have?
You know, out of all the countries I've been to in the world, I would say the Isle of Man is my favourite. You know, when I got married, you know, myself and Karen and our mum, you know, I just wanted a small loo, you know, get married, you know, and no big hype, and you know, there's no better place than to go to the Isle of Man. You know, with all the years, excuse me, coming over to the Southern 100, Manx Grand Prix, the friends that, you know, I've made over there, just everyone about, I still love coming back. I was meant to come back this year to, you know, to ride my trials bike in the 2-day classic, but you know, I'm just hoping as long as there's breath in my body that every year that I'll be able to get back to the Isle of Man and either enjoy racing or competing on the trials bike.